Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Oh, why is it doing this? There you go. Sorry about that, everybody. I don't know what in heaven's name that was. That was just crazy. But anyway, welcome to another Friday night of Mariner Spirit. I'm Greg. I'm your host. And tonight we have another great show with another amazing guest. And before we bring her on, I want to mention, like I normally do on Friday night, a few things that I do want to make sure I mention. And the first part is the fact that I like to mention the people that I support. And number one is Photographs, which is with Tim Miley. And Tim Miley is a great investigator. And back in the day when that first started, how it started was he lost his pup, didn't know if he was going to be able to go on, and finally came to the conclusion that what he had to do was he had a picture of himself and his pup, and he went to a Paracon and he started signing them, and people would give contributions and they would go to a shelter. So that blossomed and blossomed and blossomed. And you know how our community is. Everybody's always willing to go ahead and speak at a fundraiser of some sort, and his was Photographs. And he did an awesome job, and he still does an awesome job, and he's back again this year because I even asked him about that, and he's back, and he's bigger and better than he was before, and it's really hard to do when you're as tall as he is. So I mean, Tim is a great guy, and I just want to thank him for everything he's done for animal shelters. And secondly, is PKC, Paranormal Kicks Cancer, with Chris Gaskowski and Alex Wilkinson. And they're a couple from down in Florida, right around the area that got hammered. So I still haven't got a hold of them, and I do want to talk to them over the weekend and see how they're doing. And they always did benefits, haunted houses, uh, fundraisers for cancer research. And as long as I've known them, they've been doing it, and that's been quite some time. So it's great to have people like that in the community that give and give and give, and they're those kinds of people too. And the thirdly is the Jessica Petrie Foundation, and this was one that came about a couple of years ago from the founder of the foundation, and that was Howard Petrie, who is from the Paranormal United Network. And it was set up as a resource for expecting mothers, families of pregnant women with mental illness. And he's been doing that, but Howard's been getting, he's another one that's been getting hammered like crazy with his issues, his health issues, and everything else that's been going on in his life down there in Louisiana. So if you get an opportunity, please send some prayers out for him. He's one of those guys that can need him right now. That's for sure. So those are done, and then the authors I support, I have a list of them, and I usually mention it every time I start out with Bruce Holliday, Tobias Wayland, Adam Benedict, Kathy Kressel, Cheryl Lynn Carter, Dr. Heatherly Langdon, Ron Iacovetti, Tony Rathman, Natalie Jones, Patty Negri, Sylvia Schultz, Amelia Cotter, Rex Nielsen, and David Sloan. And if you don't know the name David Sloan, he is the gentleman that is brought Robert the Doll back into the limelight. So if you don't know anything about that, you could ask later on after the show. I'll leave it like that. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring my guest out. And she's an amazing lady, and I'm just going to bring her out. This is Julie Couch.
Hey.
Julie, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's another one of those nights. It's really great having you here, and I know I started watching you when you first came on Supernaturally, and that's a go-to now for me for Sunday nights because it's you do some amazing work on your shows, and you have.
I so appreciate that. Thank you. It's been fun, and it's always good to see you. Like, I know I have constant support when you're on. I appreciate that.
It's one of those things that it's automatic, especially with somebody that really has some really really great guests. Even though I don't know how to spell and talk right occasionally, but that's my little oops. But I know you've been around for a long time, and I
been around the block.
Well, we all have in that sense, and there's
some blocks are better.
There's things that have come and there's things that have gone.
Yes.
In our lives, and when it comes to the paranormal community and the things that you are doing now today, those are things that are helping out considerably with a lot of the people that aren't aware of those particular things that they can be helped with. And in essence, what I'm trying to say is, as far as you're a Reiki master, and if you want to give just a little explanation of exactly what you do with people as far as your Reiki is concerned, and we'll start out from there.
Okay. Reiki is a healing art. It is based in tradition. So when people say they're Reiki masters, you always want to ask their lineage. My lineage is very, very short to Dr. Usui and his wife. I also have 3 more additional Reiki levels besides Usui's method. So I've taken on less traditional, more modern forms of Reiki as well. Have been trained by people who are third down from Dr. Usui and his people. Sorry, my dogs are barking. It's an opening up of energy channels and chakras with symbolism. So there are certain symbols that are indoctrinated into us that we believe represent a gateway to opening up the channel of your chakras and the energy meridians of the body. So with that, you get into displacement of negative energy, removal of negative energy, insertion of positive energy, what we slangly call psychic surgery, going in and actually working on people's body parts and their ailments. And then I take that a step further and I bring in a shamanic aspect where I help the person heal the whole body. So I believe in mind, body, and spirit. So I'm working with that individual to not only clear their chakras, but to clear their current energy surface throughout the body, and then how to keep the energy moving and how to think in a more positive channeling aspect, because I believe that what we think is what we become or what we send out. And so, in turn, with negative thinking, we're sending out and creating a huge negative mass within ourselves and surrounding us as well.
So, when you first came up with the idea that this was something that was meant for you to do,
Mm-hmm.
how long did it take?
I initially was well, not initiated. I took the classes and was certified in Reiki probably 34 years ago, and had to process it and digest it and pardon me, left it a few times and then finally came back to it about 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and came back active. And it was really funny because with everything else that I've been through spiritually and illness wise and growth wise, it just made sense this time around. It was time to get back into it. It was time to use the spiritual knowledge that I had obtained, and then my spirits that I work with now just feed me the information, and it works so fluidly for me. Like I don't have the answers. I'm just the vessel, and they communicate where I need to go, and I can pick up aches and pains and things that are going on with my body to their body, but then it also doesn't stick with me. I can move it on. There's just a flow to it now that developed, and it was gifted to me.
So it's really your team then.
It is my whole spirit pack. Yes, I am just the vessel.
Well, it's a very important part of the vessel.
Yeah,
the one that sort of
I listen.
brings it all. Yeah,
and sometimes I'm frustrated, and sometimes I'm like, no, that's not what I want to hear right now. That's not. And then I go do my human thing, and then it comes back and gets me. So I've learned just to listen and do what they tell me to do, and it's better that way. It's a lot less difficult.
Are you teaching it too right now? Or
I do teach Reiki. Yes, I do classes. I do them on a one-on-one basis. I refuse to work with groups. That's not personalized, and I don't think people get what they need. I'm not able to teach that way. It's easier for me to work hands-on, one-on-one.
And you have to be close to you to do that, right?
I can teach online. I do a lot of my work online. I do my readings online. I mean, it doesn't matter. If I make a connection with somebody, I can make the connection, which is nice. Yeah.
That's really great because, you figure back in the day when, that's why a lot of people have not been exposed to things like this because there wasn't any real networking going on.
No. And I'm so computer technologically impaired. It's not even funny. I mean, it's just...
you saw how it was firsthand right here tonight, and believe me, I have no idea why it did that.
I panic.
Well,
I call my son. I'm the one that calls my son at 1:00 in the morning and says my Facebook page just became gigantic and I can't get it off my phone. And it's like, okay, Mom, I'll be right over.
At 1:00.
Well, he's up till 3 and 4, so that's not a problem. You don't call him before noon, so it's all good.
The second thing that I wanted to go ahead and make sure is something that we talked before we came on, and that's that you're a bone reader.
Yes.
So why don't you explain that, because there's probably a lot of people in here that have no clue what we're even talking about right now.
Right. It's funny because when I do shows, the weekend gigs, people will come up and say, so you can read my bones? No, I don't read people's bones. I have a set of bones. Most people would refer to them as trinkets. I do have bones in my trinkets. Some are human, some are animal, and each has a significant meaning to me. And I have a mat that's divided into spirit, finances, or I'm trying to think, I don't even know what my mat says. Family, spirit, love, social network, employment or job, and then finances and health. And for me, the key, and I can't speak for anybody else because I don't work with very many other bone readers, but for me, the key is the person will say their full birth name, and it has to be the name that they were given at the time of birth. If they've adjusted their name in any way, I don't care about that. I want the original name. And they say that 3 times. And as I breathe that in, there's a connection that's made, and my spirits will show me it's like a mini snippet of their life. And it can be from 1 to 2 seconds to a 30-second reel. And I will see something that's significant, and it's something that stands out with that person that I need to know. And it has occurred since really the beginning when I started learning to throw bones. When I take the bones and I blow my breath into them, that's blowing life into my bones. So to me, my trinkets and my bones tell a story, and I'm blowing life into them so that when they're placed on the mat, they tell me what I need to know about that person. So it's a form of divination, but it's much deeper than tarot cards. Like I can get into, I'm fed things like, this represents somebody who's being two-faced on the job, and you've got a file sitting someplace on your desk, and that person has gone through that file and taken your information. One lady, I read her, and I kept saying, there's money being taken from your account or being taken from your purse. And she said, no, no, no. And what had happened was she had given her son money to give to someone else, and he didn't give it to someone else. And she figured out that the money didn't go where it was supposed to go, but I had seen the money being taken in for personal use. So it just little snippets of things. And we get into trauma. So it's a tough reading. I tell people that I'm probably one of the harshest readers out there. I don't bunny fluff. It's not a, oh, look, you're going to get married and life's going to be wonderful. It's, I can't tell you how many times I've had to start out with, I'm so sorry that you've had trauma in your life. I'm so sorry that you started out with, childhood abuse. It's, I apologize for the things that you've gone through in your life. And
Let's
that's
say that takes quite a person though to go ahead and say that.
I have to.
You know what I mean? But
I'm compelled. I mean, that's why people come to my booth. It's funny. I'm not for everybody, and I've had people sit down, and I'll tell them I am probably the harshest reader. I always give them a warning. This is an R to X-rated reading. It's not going to make you happy. We're going to fix whatever's broken, but here we go. And if they say this, I'm not ready for this now, then it's, blessings be with you, and I hope you have a good life. And, if you ever need me, here's my card. I am not for everybody.
That's got to be amazing. And where do you work when you work with this?
I work through my house. I work through the internet. And then people see me at weekend gigs. We've got one coming up in November. And my guest is going to be Chelsea. And she's with Enchanted Mystic, Metaphysical and Mystic. So she's out of Arkansas. So I'm spending in November a whole weekend, 3 days in Arkansas. I love Arkansas. That's a real fun people, fun gig, awesome event. And
that's a long
then
way
I go to
away.
Kansas City. I go to Columbia. for it's about 4.5 hours from Jefferson City. And then I go down to the lake. I have 13th Hour I work with as well, Brandy from 13th Hour. So I have a select few people that I will go and do shows with.
And you have your own metaphysical shop too, don't you?
I do, the broom closet, yes. The
And
broom
why don't you
closet with a broom.
with
It has a broom.
do,
There's like a million broom closets on Facebook. Mine has a broom.
there is? Do you what can you do you sell via that site or
I, people get a hold of me. I'm no pardon me. Allergies are fierce tonight. Um, I have certain products that are my key signature products. I make energy cleaning sprays because there's nothing out there besides your commercial Florida water and other homemade things. Now I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me.
see as soon as you said that, I just went right over to the bottle.
Yeah. So I make my own Florida water. I make my own Valkyrie, which to me is a harder hitting. It's harder hitting than Florida water. And then I make Sunshine Daydream because anytime you remove negative energy, you have to replace it with positive energy. And so that's my positive uplift after I've done full cleanings.
Okay, so this is all the same part of the spiritual cleanings,
Yes.
correct? So that's just you got to have like 10 hands.
Yeah. I spend a lot
Well,
of downtime in my recliner watching sci-fi movies and soap operas. I'm terrible.
what
I wipe myself out. I do. Like I'll do a couple.
just to go ahead and clean everything up in your head.
Yeah. Well, I see a couple of people a day. I mean, I average a couple of people a day. And the average is an hour to an hour and a half per person. And so in between, it's just my downtime. Like I put my legs up and I sit and I just vegetate.
Oh, that's got to be. Well, I do that anyway. But
It feels so good. I
I
mean, it's not a real job, you know? I mean, I guess it is a real job, but to me it's not a real job. So I get up
well,
when I
it's
want to get
something
up
you
and
love, and you're
I
helping
do.
people. So
I do.
you can't beat that. I mean,
No. And I
people
set my own
people
schedule.
and you got a lot of people that are in here right now that you got who Becky Evans is. I think
Yes.
don't okay. She's here. Carol Garcia.
Yeah, I saw Carol.
Teresa Schraul,
Okay.
I think. Barbara Woodbury Spirit. Kim Baranski is from over by you. She's with us. She works with me on Wednesday nights.
Okay.
Reggie Randall's in the house, my partner in crime.
I saw that. I sent him a hey guys, but it didn't. Yeah, it came out under Supernatural Inc. Paranormal.
That's pretty cool. So when you oh geez Louise, why is this happening?
What?
I, I I just had the screen covered up.
Oh no, mine's open.
Yeah, that's good. At least they know we're still here. But
Hi, we're
anyway,
still here.
when we talk about that you're a licensed minister.
Yes. You know, it's Universal Life or Universal. It's the one that's on the internet. It's nothing, but it opens doors. It does open doors. It's a commonality because of the things that I'm into and the things that I have done spiritually. It bridges the gap between pagans and Christians. I it's hard for me to explain. I'm initiated by ceremony in Haitian Voodoo, African Ifon, and Cuban Santeria. I was raised Episcopal. My mom was Catholic. My dad was Baptist. They married Methodist. They converted to Episcopal, and I had Jewish godparents. So I'm kind of all over the place and have studied, obviously, the religions that I was initiated into. Chose to leave the church. And so there's always that controversy. So you're not Christian. No, I don't define myself as Christian. I believe in God. I believe in a divinity that's higher than anything. I do not like man-made religions. I've come to the conclusion that Julie and man-made religions just do not. I have enough oppositional, defiant disorder in me that I don't like to be told what to do. And I don't like to be told when to do it. And if you can't explain to me why we're doing it and what it means, then I don't want to be a part of it. So the licensed minister, because it is a universal life type of ministry, I can do pagan ceremonies and I can do Christian ceremonies and I can do any ceremony. So by doing that, I can bridge the gap when the need comes. And I like that because it's something, like I said, it opens doors.
You're I use that as flexible than a lot of other people.
Yes. I mean, I can do hand fasting ceremonies and I can do a Christian ceremony as well. Because I believe it really is all one. I mean, when you start getting into different religions and spiritualities, you find out that all the stories are the same. It's just the characters' names and the places in the world are different. And how can that be unless there's not some common thread?
Have you thought or have you looked into any of the rumors that have been going around about the last couple of years pertaining to the fact of how many civilizations were here before us?
Mm-hmm.
And what are your thoughts on that?
And with the big mud flood and you get into, did we lose? Where's the 1,000 years that we lost? Are we in the 1,000 years of darkness now, or are we in the 1,000 years of waiting for God to come back, Jesus to come back to the earth, or has he already come back? And then this is, which reign are we in? That's a whole thing right now. Are we in what they call Satan's reign, where the dead they're not going to wake up for 1,000 years, and this is hell on earth until then? Or has that already occurred and we're just waiting? I don't know. I think our timeline is way screwed up. I think there's a lot. I mean, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I think there's a lot of things that we have not been told. I think there's a lot of inaccuracies. We have a running joke at my house that there are no such things as dinosaurs. That's a modern word. That there's land dragons and water dragons and air dragons, and they were all dragons. And so, yeah.
Becky Evans said, "Hi everyone. This is needed so much. I just did my first Reiki certification, but getting attacked right now."
Uh-oh.
What does that mean?
Yeah, Becky, clarify a little more. Getting attacked because of Reiki. So there's a whole community out there that does not like Reiki. And if you're talking about people just being mean, spirited because of that, they also don't like yoga. It's the same community that does not like yoga. And not to point fingers, but there is a whole Christian community out there that Reiki and yoga are works of the devil. So let that shit go if it's human. I mean, yeah. I just, not to cuss on your show, but I have
No,
a zero fucks policy. I don't let people like that get to me. I do what it is that I do, and if they don't like it, they don't have to be on my page.
I can see that right away, and I can agree. And I
I
agree
mean,
with you.
it's
I,
it's kind of one of those things. I'm going to lead my life, and if you live your life, and if that makes you happy, you go for it.
you just got to
You're not going to hold.
draw the line in the sand, and say, hey,
Yeah, I'm not for
I'm
everybody.
on this side, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Don't don't come over to my sandbox and play then if you don't like it. It's okay.
that all had the same thing to do, I think, with another thing that was brought up about your negative energy removal.
Mhm.
So that's all part of Reiki too.
There are a lot of Reiki masters who will not touch. They will work with negative energy, but they won't mention the word demonic or dark. There's a lot of people who believe that when you say those words or you acknowledge it, you give it power. I am not of that thought process, though I understand where they're coming from because you manifest what you think about. But there are people out there walking around with entities and attachments. Not all demonic, not everything is demonic. Not, there's a lot of things that are dark that are not demonic, and we've caused a lot of them ourselves. Um, but yes, I do work with that, and I do remove that from people and houses as well.
Well, I believe that that the light and the dark are almost one and
Mm-hmm.
the same. So,
And it can go either way at any given day.
right,
Sure.
right, right. And that's been a way I've been looking at things a lot lately. I know that the people that come into the community here and the other ones that have been around different areas with different people.
Mm-hmm.
There's some communities that everybody's acceptable in, and then there's other communities where there's only certain ones that are accepted in.
True.
Now, do you find that to come into play when you talk about your metaphysical shop?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, you watch the whole paranormal drama unfold between groups of people, and it's equal to, if not worse, than the metaphysical community. It's dog eat dog. I thought nurses were bad. I'm a nurse by trade, and nurses, we have a saying in nursing that you're told this very early on. I was told this when I was 21 and entering nursing. Nurses eat their young. We will throw a fellow young nurse, new nurse under the bus quicker than, and I don't know why we do that. Like, because those are the people that are going to be helping us on the floor and helping us with our patient load. And, you don't want to screw your help over, but we're the first ones to do it. And then I got into metaphysical stuff and paranormal stuff. And I didn't see it so much at first in paranormal, but, it's just a ma and pa. It's my husband and I. And I thought, well, we're not doing any big time stuff. Got into the metaphysical world, and it is cutthroat. It is cutthroat. There, you go to some shows, and there are people putting bad juju bags. They're putting hot foot powder under people's tables. They're doing all kinds of work to throw each other off so that they make the money and the other person doesn't. And it's a whole thing out there. And I thought, how terrible. And then I started going to bigger conventions and metaphysics or paranormal stuff. It's just as bad in paranormal. I mean, there's some crazy people out there. It's
I've been around to a lot of big events, but mostly in Chicago. All the
mm-hmm,
big paracons in Chicago. I was always part of that, and I wouldn't, if it came across that way to me, I sort of blew it off, and I didn't want to waste any of my time on it.
mm-hmm.
if it took to the end to go ahead and say, please, thanks for helping me, blah, 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 whoever you're talking to, whether it's your guides or, and
Mm-hmm.
as a matter of fact, the last Paracon, one of the last Paracons in Chicago, I was going to go ahead and I was going to do an Estes presentation on the end of day one of the Chicago one.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my stuff outside of the big room where all the speaking was going on. And I had my box out there and some other stuff. And I was going through it to make sure everything was ready. And this gentleman just walks up to me and just starts to talk. And, I'm going, people don't do this, you know. And I says, I'm Greg. And he says, I'm Jeff. And we stood there and he started talking to me about whether or not do I have guides and how I work my box. And, you know, can you talk to your guides in your box? And blah, blah, blah. And this went on for maybe 20 minutes. And the conclusion that I came on to at that particular time was I am really out of the loop as far as communication is concerned because I am not the one they're going to answer. It has to be someone that they're familiar with, number one. So it has to be a spiritual being. And at that time, I pretty much chose the fact that I had to start to really sort of adjust myself and get into the loop of going ahead and that's when I brought Scotty Rourke in.
Mm-hmm.
I asked Scotty, I said, Scotty, I need to do some of this. Can you help me? And I started doing lessons with him for mediumship and then psychic and just working on all that to help me because that's important with your communication.
It helps. It opens doors. It's another door opener for sure. Of course, the other
So
thing is we don't know who we're talking to. I mean,
exactly.
I'll be the first one to say that. Like somebody brought that up to me, and I was like, really, like, well, I do, because ego. Well, of course, I know who I'm talking to, and then I got thinking about it, and it's like, but do I really? Like, do I really know who I'm talking to? Hmm. Now, I had my Santeria and Ifa, the Babalao that I worked with in my family, um, in those religious families, not my personal family, my religious families. He was also a psychic, and he had a gift of being able to go in and identify your spiritual court. And he put faces and voices and appearances with each one of the people that sat with me other than my voodoo spirits and those spirits. So there are certain spirits that I hear that I know exactly who they are. And he's put voices and faces with some of them. But the rest of them, I don't know who the information. I assume
It's just a messenger.
it's a messenger. And then I had this is kind of funny. I had a Bible thumper get on. No offense to Bible thumpers. I had a Bible thumper get on my Facebook page and say, quoted a Bible verse, and it was like, anyone who speaks in the spirit world and speaks to humans is you're speaking through demons because only demons have the knowledge, the earthly knowledge, the ancient earthly knowledge. I'm like, well, shit, I hadn't thought about that either. you know, I just blindly go in with, these guys have always taken care of me and they haven't led me astray. So if they're not leading me astray, they can't be all bad, right?
There, that's the only way that you have to put faith into
You
what you're
do.
doing. And if it's the word faith that you use when it comes to wanting to say that it's a certain being that's communicating with you, so be
Hmm.
it.
Well, they don't hurt people. I
No.
mean, they help people. And to me, if they're helping people and they saved me, they can't be all bad. But
So
I throw that out there for those people who question. I don't know who they are. It's blind. It is blind faith. It
there
is
you
blind
go.
faith.
You know, and that all
Whoop.
leads that all leads to the demonologist part.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
what what led you there?
Whew. So a physician that I work with, not as a nurse, um, but I we have a few clients in common. He had a client that was having strange things go on in his house. And the guy had had some severe exacerbations of a chronic illness. And there were things going on in the guy's house that he had reported to his physician that he did not want to be medicated for. And the physician truly believed that it was not a mental illness case, that this was a spiritual matter. So he called me up and he said, "Would you please go to this guy's house? Lives in town." And so Chris and I met with this guy and went into his house. And he had traveled all over, and he's a big fan of dark metal or black metal, which is like Netherlands. A lot of people refer to it as satanic metal. I don't know. Take, whatever label you want to put on it. But it's the Norwegian, Swedish, heavy, heavy metal.
Yeah.
And he had multiple, like the guy's bedroom was full of pictures of himself with these bandmates. And he was a big follower of the band Ghost. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the band Ghost. They became very pop. They still consider themselves black metal. I would not ever classify their stuff now as that. It's a very pop metal thing. As a matter of fact, they have stolen some of their bass music from Bon Jovi and some of those songs. So, I go back to the time of the original song. So I'm going, that's that song from Bon Jovi, but you just changed the words. But they had a Ouija boards that had been made by these band members and signed. He had all of this stuff all over his house. And he had the perfect setup: chronic illness, overworking, entertaining a lot of vices that were unhealthy. And then on top of it, had a very, very small bedroom, big enough for a twin bed, really, and a dresser. And he had 5 3D printers hooked up and a computer system. So the EMFs in that room were, I can't even describe them. They were off all of the meters. It was just a loose free for all of energy. And got in very deep. Went into the bedroom where all the stuff was. I also have to say that to him, it was all fun and games. Ghost in their day in Sweden participated in many a satanic ceremony where they baptized with blood their fans. They don't do that in the United States anymore, but their hard fan core back in the day, they did things like that. Whether it was a gimmick or not, it was done with intention. The guy had the symbolism tattooed all over himself, but in his mind, it was just a gimmick. So we get in there and something attacked me in the bedroom. The doors were banging. We have pictures of a blood red cross upside down going into my side. as I was laying on the bed. We got into the 3D printer room and I did an Estes method there. My husband was asking questions with the camera, videoing me. I was answering, but I was not answering my husband. Unbeknownst to us, the owner of the house had gone back in the back room and was actually provoking whatever was in the house. And I was answering and smarting off to the guy that was in the back room. And we have video of me literally popping my, that's my sign that I'm in trouble, like something I channel. And when I channel, usually if it's not going to be good, I pop my neck. And there's a series of things that people have watched me do. And I popped my neck and I had this, it was like being in the back seat of a car. You know, like you watch these movies where, you know, these people, they get in the back seat and the glass comes up between the driver and you can see the driver's back and the car's taken off, but they can't hear you and you can't. So I'm saying things, driving the body, and have no idea why I'm saying this. I cannot shut it down. I knew I could like run, like I just wanted to run and jump on the ceiling and do all kinds of crazy things. The filth that was coming out of my mouth was crazy. And I was not right for 2 weeks after. I mean, it took me a couple weeks. And my husband was pretty stern. Like, you're either going to have to figure out your shit or we're going to stop doing this. Because to watch, I mean, I was going down the shitter. It was bad. Like emotionally, I had thoughts, you know, much like Robert had said when he was on my show, you know, you're thinking of, you know, you got guns in the house. Like I could easily do this. I could crash my car. I'm just going in that spiral of all the things, knowing that this is not my thought process. This is not how I think. This is not how I feel. And got that cleaned up and had to go back to the house because I finish what I start. So I went back to the house and did a full cleansing on myself before I went. Wore white, wore a white cap, did everything spiritually that I should have done, and still got jumped again. And was trying to convince my husband that the house was clear and that it was time to take me home. And I wouldn't show him my eyes. And he finally said, I need to see your eyes. Take the cap off and show me your eyes. And he took the cap off and I ended up with my dreads getting doused with a whole bottle of holy water and ended up just kind of going out cold on the couch. And I was good after that. And we did end up going in with full prayer. And to my knowledge, the house has not had any more action.
Have you followed anybody as far as demonology is concerned?
I have done some online courses. I have read a lot of books.
Okay, there's a close friend of mine and a couple other people that are in the podcast, Chris Carr and Kristen Johnson.
Okay.
And his name is Nathaniel Gillis.
Okay.
And Nathaniel he's like big time. And he was he was friends with Dr. Michael Lynch before he died.
Okay.
And Michael, that we were all together. And it was really a beautiful thing. And when Michael was alive and we'd have a show, Michael would come on and take the whole show and just go with it.
Yeah.
And we would just sit there and go, wow. And then Nathaniel would get into it and it would be the same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. It's a very scary thing. Demonology is very scary. It's So people say, so what's your training? Well, I can tell you this. In my younger days, in my way younger days, I played with demons. I mean, there's a, like you said, there's a very fine line between dark and light. And I went through some crazy years being young. And it was, you want something done, you summon a demon. It's the quickest path, right? It
Well,
works. And it works every time. I wouldn't
yeah,
suggest it. Putting them
but then,
back is another whole thing. They kind of like
but
stay with you. So my experience is firsthand in some ways, not as bad as it could have been. I've never been fully possessed, thank God. But I mean, I've met a few, and I can tell by the thing is I know them, and I don't know how I know them. But when I see one, I know it, and I can call it by name. And I can call them out. I can't tell you how many people I've gone into and they'll, their eyes will roll or something will happen and they'll say, I'm Legion or I'm 7. And it's like, well, first of all, you wouldn't give that up so quickly.
no,
You're not just going to go, yeah, dude, I'm 7. No, you're not. You're nothing. You're a 0. You're a sub. But Beelzebub, I can smell him a mile off. There are certain demons that I know, and I don't know how I know them. Someplace, somewhere I've been that I know them.
that friend of mine that became a friend at that one Paracon, when he was talking about I needed a guide,
Mm-hmm.
for to help out. So he would substitute one of his guides for me, and he called into the box and went ahead and he says, "This is Jeff, and what I'm doing now is I'm giving Greg permission to use you 7."
7.
And he's still a great guy. I've had no issues in that respect.
No.
It helped me out
Well,
considerably.
sure.
But there's other people around me when I would talk about that would just
They don't
like
like that.
they like somebody brought the flea powder out. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
They were
yeah.
gone. They were gone. And
Well, I mean, Solomon did that. Nobody thought bad about Solomon. I mean, the whole lesser and major keys of Solomon are the demons and how to summons them and how to bid for them and how to send them back. I mean, I'm not saying I would do that nowadays. I wouldn't, because I don't
well,
want to go back to the chaos of doing that.
you're older and wiser too.
I'm older and wiser, and I tell you what, that I met my match. That was horrible. I never want to think like that again.
But you have the perfect husband there too.
My husband is amazing.
This
Chris
is
is
from what I've
absolutely
seen,
amazing.
and I haven't seen a lot, but I picked up exactly how he was when you guys were on that second to last show or the last one.
So,
And
yeah,
it's the
he is
same.
my rock.
It's the same. He's there. He is the protector.
He is very protective of me, and he watches me. He watches my eyes. We have people that come on my show all the time that are like, well, I do this by myself. Oh my God, that is so scary, because things hit you so quick and you don't know. And I watch my fellow investigators, and some of them are not clean. Like they take showers, I'm sure. They're not clean though. They have attachments. They have negative energy that they've picked up. They're like magnets. And the work that I go through to stay clean is not easy. Like, I know when I have something on me, or he knows when I have something on me. It's a whole thing. Becky just Okay, a lot of negative issues hitting at once, life issues, truck issues, money issues that feel it's caused by one person. Greg knows the trauma I have gone through all year. Gosh, Becky, I'm sorry to hear about that.
It's really taking its toll on her, and I'm gonna have to talk to her more this weekend.
Yeah, and
And,
DM
and
me, Becky. If you want to DM me, hit me up and I will work with you in any way I can. I mean, it takes a village. Some days it takes a couple villages, but you're not alone.
no,
And the other thing is you've also seen a few. Yeah,
when they're connected with people.
I say what's scary is I'm a big anime fan, and I like you watch anime and there's so many ghoul anime shows, and they show these things like shadow things hanging on and clinging on to people, and the split personalities and the things, and people will walk by, and I'm like to my husband, did you see that guy that just walked by that had that thing hanging over him? Like, did anybody else see that? Because that was really nasty. Or we'll be at shows and somebody will walk by and he'll go get the spray, my energy spray, and he'll be like, hold that thought. And he'll go and he'll just start spraying behind him. And I'm like, did you see that? And he's like, that's why I spray.
It's like you got your own army.
I do. I do. And yeah, people will walk by. It's like, do they not like hurt on that shoulder? Because they've got like this big thing that's my life every day. I know they make medicine for that.
That's what's really fantastic about all the stuff that you do. And that's why when I first watched you, I knew there was a lot more to it. And, it's just like when you play cards, they don't know all your cards.
Oh gosh, no.
But when you're dealing with demons or you're dealing, and I'm one of those people that said, if you listen to the Johnsons when they were out on the East Coast back in the day, and you listen to one of the brothers, he'll say that out of 100 and some odd cases that they were on, he only has 2 to 3 that are possible, with 1 or 2 being for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, there can't be anything into that then. I mean, they're not as prevalent as what one is led to believe.
So,
are those just the ones that show? Is that what you're going to say?
I think some of those are the ones that show, but then there's this whole thing about the Nephilims.
Okay.
You know the Nephilims? Like, a lot of people don't know what Nephilims are. Nephilims are the gods or the angels, depending on whatever your belief system is, that have come down from heaven and they've mated with humans. It's a thing. It goes all the way back to the book of Enoch and all of, those books that are left out of the normal everyday Christian standard Bibles. And if you get like the Ethiopian Bible, it's like yay thick, and it's got the entire book of Enoch and all the different biblical scriptures in there that the rest of the churches are missing. And Nephilims are a thing. Nephilims have been a thing for centuries, for thousands of years back. And their symbol, is the red nose, or the big red heart. So you're getting into your clowns, which are, then you're getting into, if you want to really go into subcultures like Insane Clown Posse and Slipknot and the bands like that.
Yeah.
They look like demons or Nephilims, and the Nephilims run around and create havoc. So they're demonic in that whatever angel and human form combined, it creates this entity that is, they call it demonic. It's a monster. It is not human. But they run around in human form, but they do really bizarre things. So when you're looking at things like that, you're getting into whole subcultures of humans that behave bizarrely. You're getting into a whole subculture of criminally insane.
Yes.
People that things say that things made them do things. People that sometimes we treat with psychosis that may not even be psychosis. And so demonic, are they true demons? No, they're not demons by any means. Are they Nephilims? I believe they're Nephilims. I have several health hiccups. Yes. Yeah, Barbara, it would be. It would be.
Thanks, Barb.
Yeah.
She's a great lady.
Yeah. It's good for other things, because a lot of our health issues are caused by emotional things like liver and spleen is stored fear and anger and anxiety, and digestive issues is anguish and trauma, and then heart and solar plexus. There's just a lot of areas of our body that store negative emotions and trauma that have happened.
That's amazing. I know.
Kundalini and rebirthing work with that too. Reginald, I have a few negative things, but in the spirit world, the negatives say, "Oh no, not the ex." Going on. Yes. Yep.
Okay, Reggie. Reggie's Reggie.
Not the ex.
Would you want to stop now, or do you want to go a little longer? It's up to you.
That's up to you. That's up to you.
If anybody has any more questions, let's post them now.
Yeah, please. All I can see is StreamYard comments, so, but I will get on my Facebook pages, and
I know a lot of the people that are in here belong to the Psychics Unite group that I'm part of, and
very cool.
They're really, really cool ladies.
Very neat.
Reggie's in there too, but Reggie's in there to sort of hover over all of us, and if we have to get lifted up, and
we have to have someone. We have to have someone like that.
He protects.
I appreciate that.
But that's really cool. So, if not,
it's been a pleasure. If you guys have any questions, hit me up on my Facebook. I'm Julie Couch with the dreads. There's other Julie Couches. I'm the one that's always got the dreads. Or Raven's Eye Paranormal. The broom closet's a little tricky because there's, like I said, there's thousands of the broom closets on Facebook.
Now, Raven's Eye Paranormal, that's your group, and that's you and
yeah, that's Chris. My husband and me. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And we do. I say local. I mean Missouri based stuff. I do not charge. I charge for house blessings because I work with realty companies. So, like, if you need something, hit me up and we talk. But I mean, I work for realtor agents too, so that, like, when they have a house that something's happened in, I'll go and spiritually clean the house, and I do charge for things like that. And I have private customers that I charge for, but I run them under two whole separate things.
I know. When you talk about that, and when I went ahead and I was watching the show, I thought, boy, they probably have 5 or 6 people in that group.
It's just
And
two of us.
and he does all the camera work too.
He does. Oh God, you don't want to trust me with a camera. No, I will screw it. Electronics. I have an iPhone 16. This thing,
Yeah.
the apps that I have on it, I love it. I have my SLS. I mean, we have SLS. I've got a lot of prototypes from Katie Stafford. I have a lot of his prototypes, and I have a couple other prototypes and really cool equipment. I love my equipment, but I don't get so hung up on my equipment because being an intuitive and being a psychic, I can walk in and say this, this, and this. And I'm going to go a little longer. We had an investigation last weekend, and it was a real humbling experience for me because I go in to do my little Estes because I knew there was something there and I knew that I wanted to communicate. So let's do an Estes on film, because let's do it. So we're doing that and I'm sitting there and I'm not getting anything. Like I have the red gog. I got the equipment. I'm a tech. I love techie stuff. I don't know how to work it all, but I love techie stuff. Got the little red goggles.
Where did those come from?
Ghost. Gosh.
Was that from Giuliano?
Yes, Dave Giuliano.
Okay.
And I love him. I love my goggles. And I don't do the flash. Don't do the flash. I don't know why they put the flash on there. He even says he doesn't know why they put the flash on there. Like, you talk about seizure activity. Jesus, that's bad. I do the red, and I had my headphones on, and like I'm doing this, and I'm not getting shit. And I'm one of these that usually the spirits will start speaking not through the boxes, but through me, and I can say things. Nothing, but I'm watching shadows go back and forth in front of my red goggles. And I'm like, weird. Like, what the hell?
And they're all going like a
yeah, and I'm facing a tree. And there should not have been any shadows. Now I have a rapport with elementals and I play with elementals, and that's another whole thing. But I'm thinking, this doesn't even look like these are huge shadows. What the hell is going on? So I finally disconnected. And I said, well, I got nothing. And Chris just kind of looked at me and he's like, look at your phone. And I had an app running on my phone and it was answering questions the whole time that he was asking, but I was completely out of the loop. So then I'm like, well, that's disheartening. Like they left me out of the loop completely.
On purpose.
On purpose. So I disconnected and just sat there with the box and ended up having a full conversation with something. With just me and the box and him just filming. So
did you ask them at that time why they had shunned you?
No, I didn't, because I figured that was a whole ego thing. I mean, I just kind of made the assumption that was a learning curve for me, that you can't go into these things assuming anything.
Okay.
You have to be open. You have to be completely open and just go with, Rob said that too. Like you learn at a certain point. You got to just put the shit away and just walk in and just let it tell its story. We're so in a hurry to find out whatever it is we have on our mind that we're going to find out.
And
they want to tell it a different way.
Right. They don't want anything to do with your list.
They don't. Or TikTok live or Facebook live. They don't care how many viewers are watching you in that moment. As soon as you shut it off, they're going to talk.
Yeah, I enjoy it immensely. We do that show on Wednesday nights, and maybe if you want, you and Chris sometime.
I would love to.
On. Okay.
Yeah.
And we've been, we do it long distance, which is somewhat of an experiment in that respect, to see how well those answers correspond to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing that I would want to ask you, and
Mm-hmm.
this is the same thing doing with the Estes. Have you ever, doing the Estes, have you ever had that ticking that comes through above the white noise?
I have had ticking and I have had ocean waves. Wave
Now,
after wave of it's like water. And you know, your SB7s, there's no way you can interpret that as water. I mean, that's a white noise and it's a staticky white noise. And it's I have had it like rushing water. And the ticking.
it drives you nuts.
And Morse code. I have had Morse code. And what's weird is if my box is unplugged from the headset, other people can hear it too. And it's not box related Morse code. Like it's not a ham radio coming through the SB7.
But it's real code.
Yeah. I know this because my dad was a ham radio operator.
Okay.
And I spent hours, like my bedroom in the guest bedroom in the house that I live in now is above what we called his ham shack. And so I mean, you would hear him because that was back in the day, like he could talk, but he also keyed. And so there was a lot of people he would talk to that he would be talking to and they would have to key because they weren't advanced in their ham radio. And so I grew up with the sound of that. And at one time could read it, but I can't read it anymore.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
full code.
I will tell you about that after we leave because there's everybody in here knows what I was going to talk about, and I'm not going to bore them with it. They'll throw stones at me.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. No
But I
stones.
want to go ahead. We might as well. I just want to thank you. I
Thank you
think
so much for having me.
it was a great night, and you came across perfectly.
Oh,
I think.
thank you. It was my honor to be on the show, and thank you guys for putting up with my weirdness and
No, there's nothing weird about
goofiness.
you.
Oh, don't
Not
say
even,
that. I want to be
not
weird.
even.
The only thing I got going for me is I'm weird.
Okay. Why don't we? I'm going to put you away for a minute with me, and then I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these people. I don't even know if I have an outro anymore. So.
Oh no.
Well,
Bye,
I'm going to
guys.
find out now. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here tonight. There's a lot of great questions. There's a lot of great people. And I want to go ahead and say thank you to you guys. And we'll see you next Wednesday night with another episode of One Spirit Connect. And it should be another good one. So you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you then. Good night.